Welcome to part 2 of our live training session here with our Mitsubishi Evolution 10. In the last video, we created our base calibration file. This video, we're gonna get our engine fired off and starting and running. We're gonna be taking a look at setting up the idle control, making sure that's 100%, making sure that our part throttle is going to be appropriate, so all of our closed loop trims are gonna be in line, and then we are gonna be ready to move into our full throttle tuning in the very next video. But let's jump into this video and get our engine fired off and running to begin our calibration process. Welcome back to our live training session here with the Mitsubishi Evolution 10. In our last video, we built our base calibration file for this vehicle, for the modifications that have been done. We're now ready to fire it off and start our calibration process and actually tune the file that we've created. Now we're going to be looking at, in this video specifically, idle, making sure that the idle fuel trims are going to be good, taking a look at our cruising part throttle area of operation, and then we may do a full throttle pull or two to take a look at our open loop behavior as we're getting started with this calibration process. Now we're not going to do full throttle tuning, any kind of actual high boost tuning in this video. Again, we may start with that just to kind of get our feet wet. And then in the next video, we'll take a look at turning up the boost and going through that entire process, because there's going to be a lot that's going to be left to doing the full throttle tuning. This is the very first thing we need to do, though, in this video that we're going to be running into after we build a file. So we have to go get the engine up and running. We want to make sure that our fuel trims are good, that everything is in line, and we need to do a lot of little checks and details. Some of the things I want to take a look at here in this tutorial is making sure that my load is being represented out of 100 load is the equivalent or approximate to 0 psi. That means that my load registration will be exactly how Mitsubishi has designed and intended to be for this vehicle. Let's take a look here just to demonstrate what I'm talking about, or take a look at what I'm talking about here. Going into fuel here, just pick a table. Let's go down here under our calibration fuel map. Now this is one of the many tables that relies on load registration in the table to build its actual axes for reference for fuel, for in this case, fuel calculations. And that could be timing, it could be MIVEC, it could be anything that references our load needs to be tracking properly, or else fuel, spark, MIVEC, and everything else that references load will be thrown off, and effectively the car won't run right. So it's in your best interest to always make sure that at idle, your load is registering anywhere between 20 to 40 maximum, and then as you start to get into full throttle, so you start to transition into positive manifold pressures, that 100 load is the equivalent of about 0 psi or atmospheric pressure. And then as you get higher and higher in your load here, as we're looking at going up here, that it tracks loosely to the kPa value that you'd expect to run at. So in this case here, if we're taking a look, 100 in load would be the equivalent of 100 kPa, or approximately 0 psi. If we're taking a look here at 200 load, that would be the approximate to 200 kPa, or around 15 pounds of boost. So it should track loosely to that load registration. Now, you may run into a situation where in one of the previous live training videos, we had an 800 horsepower Evo 10 that we went through, and we went through the entire process from start to finish. That had a 4-bar map sensor. We were running about 40 to 45 pounds of boost on that. Now, in that high boost situation, we started to get to the upper limits of the load registration. We know we had to perform a rescale in the load to be able to get things down in their map calcs. So that would be one of the only situations where we want to skew the load registration so we stay within the confined limits that Mitsubishi has designed. So it's going to be all the way here from 10 load at the very, very bottom of our table here, up to 320 load. We want to stay in that range. We don't want to go up to something very, very high, because something like our boost cut won't be able to apply itself. 319, I think, is the highest that we can represent for the load in our boost cut threshold. So if we're stepping over that, we're going to constantly hit boost cut. So there's all kinds of reasons why we may have to rescale on the upper end what the load registration is going to be. But just to make sure the car idles, drives, and it transitions in and out of boost properly. So all of the, again, fuel, spark timing, and MIVEC variable cam timing is going to track right the way that Mitsubishi has designed the car. We want to make sure that our load is going to be approximately 100 load is approximately to 0 psi, give or take. It might be slightly off, but just as long as we're in that ballpark, nothing's going to be thrown way, way out of the window. Now, this car has the advantage to make the process extremely simple for doing the tuning, because the mass airflow sensor is in the stock house. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.